Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Arden, and today we're talking about Batman number 96, the second part of the Joker War. So, for those of you that saw my review of the Joker War Part 1, Batman 95, which I also have right here, uh, I came in pretty skeptical and pretty disinterested in Tinian's current run of Batman or this particular event, but was largely won over by a fairly unique set of circumstances, a pretty ambitious scope, and I don't know, I just had fun with that previous issue. This book, I had a lot more mixed feelings of. It's the same creative team as last time, Satinian's writing. Uh, I'll have to deal with that later. Jorge Jimenez is the artist. Tomeo Mori does coloring. Clayton Cowell's lettering. Uh, and once again, the art team's really on point. I really do like their work in this book. Between Jimenez coloring and Mori's, or sorry, I got that backwards. Jimenez like penciling and artwork, and Mori's coloring. There's a lot of life in this comic. Characters are nice and expressive. There's some pretty gruesome scenes that are well conveyed. A lot of stuff involving like broken necks, and clearly Batman coming to terms with Alfred's death. A new character is introduced in this book, and his design is pretty cool looking from the brief glimpse we get of it. Basically, on the variant cover, you'll see flipping by here sometimes, and on like a single page of this book. And the art largely works for me, but the story I found a little more. There's parts of it I really like, and I didn't really quite get into the ending. But let's start at the beginning and kind of go from there. Because we begin with this sort of flash forward, and I think this is a real sense of what kind of city Batman's trying to build, or like Bruce Wayne is trying to build Gotham into. And it's a little bit silly with like him saying, "Oh, the no crime happens here anymore. No one dies today. No one ever dies in this city again." But we get a glimpse of that new Batman suit they were teasing last issue that I still think Alfred built. Batman races off to fight Mr. Freeze and what is allegedly two of his children, but they kind of discount that notion a little later. And Batman faces off against them. And he has a great line where he pins like Freeze to the ground and says like, "You're gonna be fine, Victor. So are you like these kids. I promise." Batman has a nice touching moment with Alfred, but then Alfred's neck done falls off, and well, it's clear that this is all just some dream. Batman wakes up with it having been days after he was attacked at Wayne Towers, and he was saved by Harley Quinn, who's got an awesome design, and that kind of gets into some of the artwork like and how great it is that I was talking about before. She's gone like full survivalist mode and looks great. I think this is the perfect role for Harley, given that she's kind of an outsider to Joker's world now and is pretty much on the side of heroes. She talks about how she was horribly wounded by a punchline, but she's kind of stitched herself up. And meanwhile, the Joker gang is just taken over the city with Batman's wealth and all that tech. They have basically the run of the mill and have taken over the other gangs just through bribing them. Then there's a great scene where this family's being menaced by some random clowns, or a clown I should say, and he's horribly killed by this kid who's wielding a baseball bat with a batarang like wedged into the edge of it, and he just like stabs. Oh, I guess it's a couple of clowns right in the head. It's quite brutal. Oh no, it's just the one. There's just. Oh, I see. I just looked at the art wrong. And this is Clown Killer, as he's introduced in one of the alternate covers of Batman number 96. The way he talks and acts is kind of interesting. He reminds me of those Robin War kids from that event, but far more brutal and feels like he fits in with the tone of this story. I like how they're introducing new characters, and they seem quite memorable from what I've seen so far. So that's all pretty good. Harley kind of updates Batman on the status of what's going on. Punchlines kind of run in Joker's uh, gangs, or like from the Wayne building. Underbroker is working at City Hall to keep like the authorities basically paralyzed and slow to stop any of this stuff from happening. Meanwhile, the Joker's just been missing, but he's been broadcasting this image over and over again, clearly just inviting Batman to the Monarch Theater. And this is where the book kind of loses me a little bit, because, I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit, but Batman also is getting a little overwhelmed by the Joker gas and kind of like fights Harley off, even though she's trying to help him, and he runs away. Harley also kind of states very clearly that all the tech in Batman's suit is fried, yet Batman's hearing Alfred's voice over the radio. And he admits to Alfred, just his voice, and this is clearly what that stinger at the end of the last issue was all about, is part of like Batman just having a psychotic break and the Joker gas affecting him. Alfred's very much dead. And this book kind of, well, at least like so far, it makes it very clear. Instead, he is just Batman trying to come to terms with all of this stuff in some form or another. I quite like all of that. I think that's interesting and, better than Alfred being revived or like Jokerized or some sort of iteration like we were discussing as a possibility from last issue. So, Batman arrives at the Monarch Theater and finds all the dead bodies that we were showed last time. And the Joker explains that they're all people Batman failed to save. That is, like, Clown Gang has been digging up over the last little, like, months, I assume. Oh, days, according to him. So they're all, like, considerably rotten and stuff. And they start leaking Joker gas, and the Joker talks about how he's been, like, working on new tech and stuff. And they all just start rising from their seats and moving to attack Batman. And yeah, so Batman faces off against a zombie army. And it's really that second bit when we start getting into the Monarch Theater and we start realizing, like, oh, that's a big part of the Joker's plot. It was kind of teased last book, and I just figured it was part of Batman or Joker's like larger plan of a reckoning, but it really seems to be like a key part of whatever's coming next, and they're going after Bruce's identity, or well, the Joker is, in some form or another. And I don't know. There's something underwhelming about that, and I did find that a little disappointing. Hey Praddick, thanks for joining us. You've been in other streams, but it's always great to have you here. So I didn't hate this book, but I did find that ending a little lacking with the zombies, basically. And I was like, oh, we're going in that direction. After all of this stuff with him taking over, like the Joker taking over Batman's company, Alfred being gone, and this kind of feeling like a different battle against the Joker in terms of tone, and Bruce kind of being more on his own than he's been before, that was working for me in the last book. And now we're going in this direction, and it just feels a little more campy, we'll say, even if it is going for the darker tone. These kind of digs into the Monarch Theater and the undead victims of the Joker are a little disappointing. And I realize they're not undead. They got some weird tech thing going on where they're basically just being reanimated or used as puppets of some form. I get that. It's all the same in the end. Same effect. And that's not really much of anything. And I gotta tell you guys, I'm really not feeling or digging very much the whole aspect of like us digging into Batman's origin stories again. And I'm like, maybe I'm just an old comic book fan at this point or something, that I know I'm not alone in just being tired of that imagery and that content. It's no different with the Joker being involved. I don't feel that way. Maybe this villain can I don't know, present this material or traumatize Batman with it in some new way, but it feels more like we're past that at this point, and I wish we weren't really going in that direction. So I don't think I recommend this book for now. I did recommend Batman number 95, and I stand by that recommendation. It was a lot stronger of an issue, but for now I'd rather wait and see where the Joker War is going from here. I think I'm still intrigued enough to continue that journey, but more as a reviewer, kind of like what I'm doing with Empire right now, and other books along those lines. Just because I'm checking it out doesn't necessarily mean that I recommend it. It doesn't say. I don't know how many parts the Joker War is supposed to be. I want to say 5, probably just based on some faint memory or something, but either way, I would hope for more out of this than what I got. And yeah, that was a little disappointing. So, yeah, unless there's anything else you guys want to share in chat, we'll probably leave it at that for now because I still have a bunch of other books. And next up is Legends of the Dark Knight, which is so far, Legends of the Dark Knights, I should say, which has so far been a pretty strong anthology series with a lot of big names attached to it that I'm currently working my way through. And hopefully I should have enough time to talk about that one again today as well. Today's a little bit weird. I got a lot of random stuff to do and I have to work this evening, so we'll see what streams I get around to, depending on how quickly I move through them. But I find I didn't have a lot to say about the Joker War. Aside from, yeah, I'm really enjoying Harley Quinn's moment, some stuff with Alfred. There wasn't a lot to really sink my teeth into in this particular book, and I don't really have much else to add. Like I said, Paddock says, how many DC books are you going to review today? Well, Legends of the Dark Knights is next. That's obviously that one. Then I have 2 Empire books to do. Then I have 2 Empire books to do, and then after that I have one more DC book out of what I pulled this week. So, pretty hefty pull, I gotta say, but I'm moving through it a lot faster than last week, which is good. I don't have any big trades to slow me down, for one thing. So yeah, you can expect more of that, and some interesting thoughts on Empire based on what I've read so far, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for joining me, Praddock, and everyone else who's been watching live and watching after. Let me know what you think of my thoughts on Joker War and Joker War in general in the comments section below, and we'll see you next time here on Comic Island.